Hello, everyone. This is Karen Main, and again, I am continuing the book study on Mass Matters, and today I'm going to be talking through the second chapter of the book, which talks about the importance and the impact of the parish church. The last podcast, we kind of took you through some history of the Catholic Church. And now we're going to delve a little bit deeper, moving into a little bit more of the modern day concerns and what has happened more recently in time. As we know, Mass is celebrated in communal space that we call the church, and it's all about coming together as community. We also want to remember that a parish is a group of people that are looking for roots among the people or relationships with the people way before they look for beliefs. And people are forming these relationships with others long before they really embrace religion as a whole. And the church is meant to offer shared experiences, and if we're doing church right, then faith is the fruit of discovery, and we want people to have the invitation of come and see. The centrality of the parish is really summoning us away from individualism to communal worship. This is very difficult in today's world because we are a very individualistic society. Going back just a little bit, parishes and schools were once built with huge sacrifice and pride. Remember the neighborhoods who were identified by the church, and they really were the identity of the immigrants who built them. And we talked a little bit about this, where we had the German neighborhood and the German church and the Irish church and the Polish church. These parishes formed a very lasting impression of what church was about. And people really identified with the church and their neighborhood. And it was a very core element of their being, because the center of their neighborhood really was the church, and everything was central around that. Back at that time, pre-Vatican as well, there were a lot of comments that we miss a lot of the things. The church tended to really attune to our senses as well. Visually, there were the churches that were very beautiful inside, with the statues of the saints, the stained glass windows. We used to celebrate Ember Days, Lenten fasts, novenas, parish missions. The sense of the feeling of Catholicism was very heightened with all of those experiences, because we really used the senses of vision, of hearing, the bells, the senses of the nose with more incense. All of those things we identified as very Catholic. Following World War II, we all of a sudden were moving into this modern world. And we moved away from these neighborhoods of our immigrant families. And all of a sudden, we started spreading out to the suburbs. And the secular society, all of a sudden, we were fading from our immigrant background into the general public. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just the nature of what happened. And we also really started to really rev up on private consumerism and secularism. Individualism started replacing community. Media replaced art. Celebrities were replacing saints. And rational science really began to replace irrational belief. So the real challenge of our modern church is to focus on the sense of community, which in today's world is really viewed as the other way of life. It's really good to think about that because we know that so much of that is true. Individualism and secularism, are so promoted today. Be an individual. Don't do things that everybody else does. Be your own person. And yet, some ways, I think we're really setting ourselves up for heightened isolation, for a sickened community and world. And when we come to church, we really help each other out because we come into unity. We leave all that garbage at the door and we really say it doesn't matter what our backgrounds are, what our professions are. We come as a faith community, and through our baptism, we really are seen as the church. So a couple things to ponder. As we move into this modern world, we also want to make sure that we don't think of our local churches as just subsidiary parishes of the Vatican, that we're just simply a branch of a parent company, or, this vertical church structure or the bottom rung. That's really not what we are. We're not a parish. A parish is not a franchise under the name of the Roman Catholic Church. In the Constitution of the Church, it states, this Church of Christ is truly present in all legitimate local congregations of the faithful, which united with their pastors are themselves called churches in the New Testament. And this is really important because we want to make sure that we understand that the pastor's task is not to share his or the bishop's power with the laity, but rather to call forth and remind them that the power that the laity has is in the virtue of baptism, and that laity is the most public element of the church. And that really speaks to us that we need to really be present to our faith communities, that church is more than just a Sunday obligation. It's truly a way of life. They also talk about in the book that going to Mass actually has been proven to be good for you. That recent studies show that when we come together as community, we have greater longevity, we have better immune systems, we have lower anxiety. And without all of this community, we know that individualism really creates social isolation. It also creates mental health issues, drug and alcohol issues, and so on and so on. So worship at the parish, we know that we really look out for each other. There's been a lot of study on this, and that churchgoers are contacting people on a regular basis. They're providing support more than unchurched counterparts. So church really does support a better living. Going to church makes for physical, mental, and spiritual health. Especially in these times of the pandemic, boy, we are really turned upside down. And we have been really trying to reach out to people in various ways, through live streaming, through podcasts, through this virtual reality, through phone calls, through messaging. And I'm amazed, again, at the powerful impact that people are having on lives by staying in touch. with other people. We really don't want people to be isolated. We have been coming up with very creative ways to make sure that that doesn't happen. So, points to ponder, and if you feel that you would like to put a comment below the podcast is an area where you can type in comments or questions or anything relating to this podcast. Here's a couple of questions for you to ponder. How would you assess your parish? From listening to where parishes have come from the immigrant days of our early settlement in this country through post-World War II and moving into the suburbs and beyond and becoming this global society. In today's world, how would you take a look? What is your personal point of view or assessment of your parish? And how active are you in your parish? Why or why not? Why do you feel that it's important to be active or not within your own parish community? So as we continue to move and change through our parish lives, I leave you with this assessment of Chapter 2, really looking at the impact of the parish church. And what we really want to be are people come and see. Is St. Raphael the Archangel a parish of come and see first? Are we offering people the ability to come and see without being defined or looked down upon? Are we a welcoming parish? Why? What can we do better? What is the future taking us to? What is this epidemic telling of us? At this time of our parish strength? Are we really and truly reaching out, even in this time, to be a parish of come and see? I thank you for your time. Until next week, thank you. Goodbye.